been looking for a podcast to help you transform your physical and mental? One that'll shoot you straight between the eyes with truth and no BS, helping you have the right mindset to accomplish things, the iron will and fortitude to follow through with what you say you're going to do. No excuses. Mark owns martial arts schools, and after 30 years, he has some real insight for real talk, real life, real conversations, motivational, fitness, self-defense, weight loss, live from the Great 1-8. This is Real Talk with Mark Cox.
All right, we're live. All right, good morning. It's nice to say good morning because usually everybody's on the East Coast. I was just telling you that comes on my show. So I hear you're in Southern California, just like I am on Riverside.
Good morning, Mark. Yeah, it's great to be here. I appreciate you having me.
So we have enjoyed. Well, you didn't get to enjoy the earthquake, but we have enjoyed.
Little mini hurricane, yeah, a little tropical storm, you know.
Californians, they go and buy a bunch of toilet paper for 2 days of rain. I'm just like, I mean, did we not learn anything from the pandemic, man? How hard is it just to be a little bit prepared for a week of stuff? It's not rocket science. Have some gas, have extra toilet paper, have some food that you can get on whatever that Patriot food site is that I have. I got, 3 months of food on site. Stays good for 25 years, stuck in the cupboard. Yep. I mean, it doesn't take much to be a little bit prepared, but California.
It does. Well, that was my wife. My wife is from the Midwest, and she's like, "Oh my God, tornadoes and hurricanes!" And went out and bought like 17 ratchet strap sets, and I'm like, "Okay, we could take 16 of them back. We're good." But I just kind of let her do her thing, and like, all right, we'll get the sandbags, we'll take care of it. Better to be over prepared than under prepared, and for me personally, I'd rather be able to say, "See, I told you so," rather than be like, "Fuck, you were right." I'm just one of those guys,
right? That's the last thing that we.
I told you the house is going to get ripped apart. We have to be in the corner closet. Yeah, no,
that's funny. That's funny. Well, let me just give you a line off the bio you sent me, so everybody kind of has a understanding who we have in front of us today, which is pretty awesome, right? So Christopher Rausch is debatably the world's most effective, impactful, unstoppable, no excuses coach, speaker, workshop facilitator, retreat leader, whose life apprenticeship from the victim to victor is nothing short of miraculous and surely inspiring. So this is, I took that part right there because I thought, it pretty much says it all. Yeah. One of the things in there it talks about is, let's talk about the retreat leader real quick.
Sure.
Before we get into your story, I saw the retreat leader. Now, when you do retreats, is it mostly a men's thing?
Yeah, funny enough, it's honestly God's honest truth. Most of my clients are and have been women coaching clients over the years, but for men, there are a small group of men that reach out to me every year and say, "Man, do you ever put any retreats? I would love to just spend a couple of days with you." So sometimes we do camping retreats. I have an RV, so we'll get a couple of guys together and we'll go locally here in Southern California. They'll fly out here and we'll do a couple of days out camping. We've done camping retreats in tents. We've done retreats up in Big Bear. I'm pretty close to Big Bear, as you know. So yeah, we get the guys out there and we just get them because people hit me up and are like, "Man, you're such a guy's guy, but you're so vulnerable and you're confident in who you are and you're emotional and everything else. How do I get to that space?" And so every once in a while, I haven't done it in the last couple of years. We had COVID going on, but I'm going to probably be doing one again next year. And it's an amazing opportunity for guys just to be guys. It's not the whole going hard in the paint, and stuffing your face in the sand, which I have friends that do those types of retreats as well. They were trying to get me to do one, but I was like, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. But yeah, it's just about that honest communication about just being real with yourself and then being able to be real with the people in your life. Because if you can't be real with the people in your life and real with yourself, then you're living a lie. And then ultimately that's either going to end in a regret or it's going to end in a situation where you're going to have to take action to change who it is that you are in order to really enjoy your life, because it's short.
True. That's true. I asked about that because, I have a couple other men that have some men groups, and in my church, it's a big thing to have life groups. I tell this story often about life groups, and I can't stand them. Okay. They've always tried to get me to do these. And I said, I'm not going to someone's house and singing Kumbaya with a bunch of mixed. Nah, it's not happening. I'm not going to tell you my feelings, all that kind of stuff. But I do have something here at the studio. So once we did Jesus and Jits, or we did Bible Beatdown is what we called it, which what we would do is we would come in here, and these group of guys, and these are men that probably have a hard time going to church anyway, you know what I mean? Or dealing with, pornography or just anger and stuff like that. What most men do, right? We would get in here. I teach them to fight for 8 weeks. Then we'd have a small study together, small group where we can talk. But it's different when you bleed together. The talks become a little bit different, right? And then at the end of 8 weeks, if they've never fought in a cage, they can try it. Or if we're doing a jiu-jitsu route, we'll do a little bit of a tournament in jiu-jitsu at the end, see how everybody does after we did 8 weeks of that. So it's definitely that just caught my eye, that the retreat, because it takes the right person for somebody like me to go listen to. You seem to be, you know what I mean? Kind of, it's got to be real, man. It's got to be somebody that's been through some stuff.
I've heard so many stories, dude. Some military veterans. I mean, I've had guys tell me, like, I have never shared this in public before, and just break down crying, and to be able to feel normal and not to feel judged, like, oh, I've got to be this tough person. I have to put on this everything else, and I have to hide and push that stuff away. The release and the emotion and the ability to grow and to be able to see themselves as it's great to be okay. It's great to be, we're always told is, suck it up, be a man, men don't cry, be a big boy, stop being a pussy, all that other stuff. And so we just walk around like, oh, I'm the toughest fucking thing since, brick shit house. And then inside we're still little boys and little girls trying to process our feelings and our emotions. So yeah, it's been pretty amazing. I don't do it a lot, but I do it every once in a while when I feel the calling to go out there and serve. And I'm a part of a dad's group and help out a lot of guys anyway.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's super, super real. So let's get into where so you have a book coming out. I just, I pre-ordered myself. So those that are listening,
thank you.
We're trying to get, listen, all my listeners that come out here, being somebody that wrote a book anyway, we try to get everybody's books to go bestseller. And the easiest way to do that, if people are listening, they don't understand, is when you pre-order, and you can hit all those books in one day, where all the pre-orders come in, and you hit that, and it really kind of lifts your book up to become a bestseller. Yes. It's an algorithm, just like anything else, correct? And so if you guys are listening, after the podcast, after you listen to a story, I'd encourage you. I'll have it in notes, by the way, by the time and done, where you can go and just put your name down for a pre-order. It's nothing easy. It's a name and a web and your email address, and you're good to go. So let's talk about we got some people saying hello. Let's see before we get it. There's a Serena.
What's up? Oh, there's my Serena. What's up, Serena? My sweetheart, Adam in the house. Yeah, these are Adam's some of my amazing brothers and sisters from around the world.
Yes, that's good, right? I don't know. Have you ever met Israel? He's on here too. Have you met him?
No, I have not. Okay. No, I know the other two.
All right,
thank you, Israel, for being here.
Yeah, you'll like him. He's good to go. He's good man. He's good people.
Cool.
Funny dude, but he's good people. He's a martial artist too, man. I enjoyed when I met him. We had a good time. Let's go into your book. Let's go into your life story a little bit, what that's going to look like, and what brought you to where you are today to kind of be a coach. So let's do a Reader's Digest version, because we don't give it all away, right? We gotta read in order to learn. So let's get a Reader's Digest version of it.
Sure. I mean, essentially, I sit before you today as a former homeless seventh grade dropout who lived in the backseat of a station wagon with 18 cats and 4 dogs, with a mother with various psychological disorders. I came home from school one day. I was getting in a lot of trouble in school. I was fighting and doing drugs and skipping class. My mom said, "Hey, we're going to lose the house." And I said, "What does that mean?" And she says, "Well, basically, I spent the last $5,000 that I had to save my dying cat, and now we have to move out." And I said, "Where are we going?" And I said, "We're not sure." And so ultimately, long story short, it wound up being our 1969 Country Squire station wagon. I left the 7th grade without saying goodbye to anybody. And for the next 4 ensuing years, we lived in and out of the car. We lived in and out of trashy motels. I lived in abandoned vans. I lived in garages. We dug through dumpsters and had all sorts of fun. I tried to kill myself twice. Unfortunately, I sucked at it. It wasn't until I got to a point where I was hanging around with bad people doing bad things, and I had a gun put to my head, and I told the guy, if you're going to pull a fucking trigger, pull the fucking trigger. And I thought I was going to be it. I thought I was going to hear a click. I thought I was going to be gone, and that was going to be the end of the story. Fortunately, for the grace of God, somebody came out there and said, no, him and his moms are cool. Him and his moms are cool. And it was all over a pack of cigarettes. The guy thought I was being racist about the color of his skin. I said, dude, I grew up in a black neighborhood. I don't care what color your skin is. I love all people. I said, I smoke cool cigarettes. And I went to go reach in my back pocket. And when I did, I had the gun put to my head. And it was after that, Mark, where I had to sit there and think like, okay, I'm 17 years old. I've been doing this for 4 years. Nothing is changing. I'm getting worse. I'm doing drugs. I'm doing alcohol. I'm working jobs to keep us out of the car in this cheap, sleazy, disgusting motel. And I thought, I'm going to get out of here in a cop car. I'm going to get out of here in a pine box, or I'm actually going to have to take responsibility for my life and actually leave my mother in this situation. And that broke my heart to think that all the time I thought together we're going to get out of the situation. And so once I left her in the motel, I still went back there every night and still gave her money. I started getting around the right people. And then fortunately, I met an amazing woman named Tammy and met her parents. And I thought her parents were going to take one look at this long-haired, cigarette smoking guy living in an apartment with 5 people and say, get away from my daughter. And he simply said, if you thought about going back to school and getting your GED. And I was like, what's a GED? And I was stupid in school. I did horrible in school. I couldn't see, I couldn't hear. I sat in the back of the class. I was made fun of. So I just didn't do anything in school. Nothing to bring attention to me. So for me to be having confidence is an incredible story in and of itself. So I thought, you know what? If this guy believes in me, let me go try. And this is before the internet. So I had to pick up a phone and dial all the schools around my neighborhood and say, do you have a GED program? And they're like, yeah, we do. One of the places did, Wintersburg High in Huntington Beach. And so they're going to we want you to come down and take a test. We'll see how you are. And then we'll give you homework to catch you up. And then you get your GED and then you can move on. Long story short, it wound up taking me about 3.5 months to make up high school. I was pretty surprised. I guess I was actually pretty smart. And then I went back and I showed the guy, I got the certificate. I got a GED now. And he's like, well, what do you think about college? I'm like, what does this guy want from me? Right. I'm working 3 telemarketing jobs and a construction job. I'm barely eating ketchup sandwiches. And now this guy wants me to go to college. And so long story short, I spent the next 12 years in college and I graduated with my master's degree. The same year I bought my first house. And through that process, I had a very successful stint in corporate. I was the director of operations for a major international organization. And I started coaching and speaking and writing books and doing podcasts just as my way of helping other people, seeing the fact that if I could do it, anybody could do it. And so I just started teaching people how to do it. Then I found out you can make money at it. And it's been a passion of mine for many, many years. And I left corporate in November of 2019 to do it full time.
So when you went to college, did you decide to did you have any direction at all, or did you just try with general education and then you kind of moved into business? Because it says in here that you have a degree in organizational
management. Yeah. It was, for me, it was business seemed like the logical aspect of it. So I just went with general business administration for my undergrad, and then wound up sitting there thinking like, okay, I've got a bachelor's degree now. Now I can say I was a homeless kid who got a bachelor's degree, but I thought, okay, is that good enough? Am I here to be good enough? What would it take for me to get a master's degree? What would it take for me to get a PhD if I wanted to? And so that's when I went into organizational management, because numbers and getting an MBA for me was not going to be the route. That was not my forte. I love people. I love putting teams together. I love seeing operations meld together. I love seeing organizations like do more effective business with one another in departments. And a lot of the generational leadership that was going on at the time was my forte. It was something I was speaking nationally on, is about how different generations can work together and like use their synergies and learn from their differences. And so organizational management was a natural for me. And that's really what my director of operations career kind of stemmed about, was cohesiveness through all the different international offices that we had, bringing them all together to work on the same team.
So you said something in there about working with different, like trying to get millennials and Gen X to merge, is what you're saying, right?
Oh yeah,
that's it.
I did a lot of that.
Is a challenge. Okay, for sure. And because the Gen X, which would be me, or I might even be before, because I'm 60. Well, I'm 61 years old, so I'm right on the cusp of what that would be, right?
Yep.
And then to have millennials, and they're just a little bit of a different they're a different animal for sure. And when you go to hire, it's like, nobody wants to work, and nobody, it's always some kind of a problem, and my feelings, and I have to listen to my son. My son's 24, and he comes home. He stopped the Zoomies now, but he was kind of a co-managing white. He just graduated with he's working at Zoomies. He's a great salesman. And he came home and he's like, Dad, I said, he goes, the boss today couldn't come in because he had to have a mental day. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, he called out because he had to have a mental health day. I'm like, oh my goodness. And that's his boss. And I said, well, let me tell you two things. Okay. One, I've never heard of that. And two, don't do it. So there's, figure out how to get through your mental day when you're at work. You know what I mean? Work day is work day. And that was just kind of the difference of the generations I just see. But, watching my father, who's still, I still have my folks, but, he's worked. I don't even know my dad not to work. So, naturally that's what I did. But on the same token, my older son, he helps me run the karate schools and stuff. But he also told me, he was pretty straight with me one day, and he goes, Dad, I just don't want to do what I watch you do.
Yeah.
It's just all you did is you'd take us to school, you'd get to work, you'd come and put us to bed, and we would see you here. You're always at our events and stuff, but I just seen you knew nothing but work. And I told him, I said, well, when you're young, it was hard for me because I was going through a divorce, and Sanctuary was a studio. So it's where I spent most of my time, unfortunately. And so, having those real talks with your kids, and those was, sounds like probably something you kind of merge that kind of stuff together, if that's what it is. I thought that was interesting. It's just an interesting degree because I am so not organized. Okay. First of all, I'm a visionary, right? You see that if you coach companies, right? You got, kind of the CEO, the visionary, kind of putting things in play. I'm not a micromanager either. I say, here's what I want to see. Here's where I see the vision. Let's take it to that level. And then I kind of like branch it out. And so I'm sure that that's what you see when you're in your corporate world, and kind of how you have them merge. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. It really one of the greatest lessons that I've learned about relationships, because my mother was basically the FU person. Like, she didn't give a shit what you thought. She was always had to be right. She got fired from every job she ever had. She lost every relationship she ever had, including my sister. So for me, seeking first to understand and then to be understood has been instrumental in my life to better understand myself, but also not to make assumptions and judgments about where I think other people should be based on my expectations. And so in doing that, that's where I was really ready to see and understand the millennials and the Gen Zs and also the baby boomers. And at that point, we had still some of the silent generation, the older generation in there, that this is what we do. And so when we sat there and think about, okay, what experiences did these individuals have when they were growing up? Okay, these guys went through the First World War. These guys went through the Great Depression. These guys went through free love and sex and drugs and rock and roll. These kids grew up with the internet and the microwave and the Amazon and da-da-da-da. So might we all be a little bit more alike had we gone through those different experiences and perhaps had the parents that were in those generations teaching us? And so for me to be able to see, okay, what does this person expect? And so what I would sit there and do as a manager of over 25 people at the time is I would sit with people, because everybody would say, I expect this. I expected a raise. I expected a promotion. I expected this. So I sat down and I said, okay, let me understand your expectations about yourself, your expectations about others, your expectations about me as your boss, as your leader, and expectations for the company. And what I started finding out is a lot of people had similar expectations, but the execution of what it is that they were willing to do to make those executions realistic, that's where the problem was. And that's where the opportunity was for us to get together as a team and say, okay, here's what we got going on. We got 9 people in here who all want to be the lead person in the shipping warehouse. There is one position in there. So here's what we have to do. What do you guys think is a realistic plan for us to find out who is potentially the best? Well, maybe we have a lead for a month, or maybe we have a secondary lead. So I would put it on them to come up with the solutions in order to work together to find that commonality, to be able to work with their strengths and their differences a little bit better, and to do that seek first to understand and then to be understood. And it garnered me a lot of opportunities within the organization. It garnered me a lot of opportunities in consulting business, being able to see that. And then also for my own success, rather than me always having to be right and prove everybody wrong, which I could do. I'm a very intelligent person, It allowed me to sit back and say, hey, listen, let me analyze my feelings a little bit more. Let me get into what it is that they're expecting and make sure there's a mutual reciprocity here for understanding. Because so many times they're making an assumption about me. I'm making an assumption about them. I've got selective hearing disorder, so I'm hearing only 10% of what they're saying because I really don't give a shit about what they say because I want to care about what I say. So it helped me out tremendously in all areas of my life, personally and professionally.
That's awesome. Good advice is in there also, what you're talking about. When you're talking about your journey, right? It says in here as a complete guide to living and leading the best kick-ass life possible. Imagine the impact of his wisdom of your organization. His compassion guides each person through the journey of self-transformation. Let's dive into what that talks about, because that's a lot about what martial arts are in a tune, right? It is a reflection of self-mastery, right? You realize real quick on the mat that especially when someone's trying to choke the shit out of you, right? So there's not really much that you get to do at that moment. You're not really thinking about bills. You're not thinking about anything. You're thinking about, do I give up on this when the pressure's on me and I feel them on my chest and I can hardly breathe and I'm claustrophobic? Do I tap out or do I find a way out? You know what I mean? And, in the beginning, you do a lot of tapping out. Pretty soon you realize, hey, I can weather this storm. I can weather the storm a little bit. When I weather the storm, I figure and find a way out. I'm patient. I wait for them to make the mistake, and then we go. I mean, that's the beauty of martial arts. It sounds like it's the same type of thing that you do when you're coaching.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, Mark. I mean, it's a great opportunity to talk about. For me, it's 1%. Like if I can just get 1% a little bit better every single day, compounded over a period of time, what is that going to result in my confidence and my perspectives and my ability to sit there and say, am I doing my best? So oftentimes we sit there, oh, I did the best I could. But did we ever really analyze, was that the best in that particular situation? Or did I do the best to feel comfortable, to feel safe, to feel certain, to feel secure, to feel like I'm not going to lose my ego because maybe I didn't do my best? And I know for me, that's what I teach. That's what I teach my clients and everybody that I work with, is the fact that, can I do 1% more? If there was a different set of leverages in my life, would I give it a little bit more oomph? Like I have a lot of people in financial problems. And I said, so let me ask you a question. If I asked you to go raise $10,000 in 7 days and it can't be illegal, immoral, or unethical, can you do it? $10,000 in 7 days. Can you do it? 99% of people, oh my God, Chris, if I could have $10,000 in 7 days, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, all things being equal, tell me about somebody that you love the most. Usually it's somebody's kid. I'm like, tell me about your kid. Oh, my kid name's Todd. Okay, tell me about Todd. Todd's 7 years old. How much do you love Todd on a scale of 1 to 10? Todd, scale of 1 to 10, 10. I'm like, would you take a bullet for Todd? Yes, you would. Okay, awesome. Well, now I'm going to go dark, because I believe that things happen when we go dark. We have to get to the bottom of what it is that we really are going to find our leverage and our true strength and resiliency. You walk through the door after work tomorrow and Todd's sitting in a chair and there's a man with a 9mm gun pointed at Todd's head. And the guy says to you, hey, you need to raise $10,000. It can't be illegal, immoral, or unethical in the next 7 days. Otherwise, I'm going to pull the trigger. Suddenly, there's a lot more leverage to do better. Suddenly, there's an opportunity for us to get out of our comfort zone and get to be more resourceful with what it is that we truly have. And that's what you're talking about, being on that mat. Is there a way I can shift my body just a little bit? Can I just wiggle a little bit? Can I do something to change this situation right now and not give up on myself, and not give up until I have blood, sweat, and tears in my eyes, to know that when I go to sleep at night, I have done my best? Because so many people out there, Mark, and you know this, I'm doing the best I can. I'm like, how much fucking Netflix do you watch every week? Oh, how much sports do you watch every week? How much time do you spend complaining versus picking up a book and going, hey, maybe if I read this book, I might get a little bit smarter. I might find that 1% advantage that's going to get me through that day. People have to take responsibility for themselves, but they're so caught up in their groupthink with people going, oh, doesn't it suck? Oh yeah, it's terrible. The government should do this. The politicians should do this. Oh, da, 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 da. It's not going to get any better until this happens. I mean, all that negativity takes the ownership away from us. And that's what I teach people, is like, you got to do it for yourself. I mean, the reason why I'm here is I never gave myself any excuses. I just kept putting one foot in front of the other in every uncomfortable situation that I really was like, I have no idea how I'm going to get through this, but I'm just going to get through it one step at a time. And then just being able to believe and understand that it's all happening for my greater good. And it's going to help me compound all that knowledge and all that interest to ultimately, which is now, be a great dad at 54 years old. And I have a 6-year-old son. And so I can look at my entire life and go, wow, that all prepared me for that. It all prepared me to write this book. It's just you and me, kid. I mean, the story of my life is unbelievable. So all of it has combined to be able to create the man that I am today, to be able to help the thousands of people that I do.
So now, do you have other children, or do you just have one?
One and done, man. I saw my friends have more than one, and I'm like, no, thank you.
I have 4. So, and I raised 5. I have another boy that I brought in when he was 12.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And so way back in the day. And so I've got 3 boys and a girl, right? All grown adults now. 54. I don't know if I really feel that 54-year-olds can be really great dads, though. You've got a lot of life kind of behind you. I was a little bit younger when I did it. So I was all these mistakes and then divorce and all that kind of stuff. You're a little bit more centered, and I'm sure you're going to be
100%.
Your son's hero as things progress, Yeah. So I think that's awesome that you're doing that. Well, how long have you had your wife now? How long have you guys been married?
How long have I had her? I kept no. Actually, it will be 17 years this October. We've been together for just over 21.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So was she with you after or during some of this growth process?
She's definitely been during. Yeah. In the story of the book, I mean, we basically go from homeless, we get out of being homeless. I mean, there's just all this complete roller coaster of a life with my mother and all the different things. And she and I had first started dating when my mother lost her house again. And so it was this experience of my mother living with us for a while because she had nowhere else to live. And my girlfriend getting it to the point where, like, I'm ready to bust out of here because you're not taking care of your responsibilities with your mom. Your mom is running your life. And so she has been there for a good majority of it. So she got to see me make some of those hard decisions, which we all have to make. I mean, I literally found my sister left when I was 9 years old. She said, sorry, baby brother, I can't take mom anymore. And she went to live with her biological dad, who by all means was normal and had money and everything. I didn't see her again until 2005 when she was 42. She was 16 when she was left. She was 42 then. And so I thought she lived a perfect life. I thought she was going to be everything was going to be normal. And she wasn't. And she had turned out exactly like my mom. And so for me, at that particular point in my life, I wanted nothing more to ever have a family. I just wanted a family. Everybody else had a family. I saw it on television, and that's all I ever wanted. And so when we got kind of reunited, it shocked the hell out of me that my sister turned out exactly like my mom, but still hated my mom. Called her like, how's your mother doing? And all this other stuff. And so after a year of this and realizing my sister was so tied to her victimhood that I had to wish her well, I had to sit there and say, you know what, Maria, we share some blood. I appreciate that. I'm glad for the couple of good times that I can remember from my childhood, but I need to wish you well because you are so encased in your victimhood that there is nothing I can say or do. And you have zero desire to change, that I am not going to allow that toxicity into my life. And so my wife got to see me make those tough decisions that, had I not made them, probably may not be still the man I am today. I may have continued drinking more. I may have continued running away more. I may have blamed myself for that. So that's what I teach people, is sometimes you have to make the toughest decisions in your life, and they're heartbreaking and they're soul crushing, but they're going to be the best for you in the long run. And that's something that we need to do.
Well, awesome. Yes. Powerful that you've made the decision to kind of change that trajectory in your own family. I guess the best word to say is, right, the curse doesn't come down upon my son, right? I'm going to break that. I'm going to break that. So it's, he's got a fighting chance to not go through, through victimhood or whatever, life hits him with. It's good, man. It's good. Awesome analogy, Chris. It's super cool. So when your goes, let's talk about a little bit more of your speaking. Okay.
Sure.
Let's talk about, you says you're a speaker, workshop facilitator. We're going to talk about that here in a second, but I want to talk about your speaking. Do you like to speak to groups? Typically who hires you? Are you looking at corporate type speaking? Did you already do that when you were in the corporate world? Or is this something that's just kind of come along and do you want to expand your speaking because of writing a book?
I will speak anywhere. I'm a chatty Cathy. I've spoken at industry events. I really got into speaking when I started realizing that I could use my story to help these kids called at-risk youth. These kids that were in and out of juvenile hall. I became a mentor for the Corona Police Department out here, Southern California. I went to work for the Corona Police Department, working with at-risk kids, taking my situation and be like, okay, hey man, I was on the street, I was doing drugs, I was doing these things and mentoring these kids. And then from that, it carried into, hey, would you come speak to the boys group? Would you come speak to this University of San Bernardino, foster youth situation? So I've spoken to tons and tons of youth organizations. I would love to do those again if there's anybody watching. And then also as well, from my corporate side of things, when as I was going up the ranks in my job, they gave me 2 departments that I had zero idea of how to operate or do anything. They said, Chris, do you think you could handle it? And of course you say yes, and you show up and you figure it out. And so I started attending industry events. And as a result of that, because of my eagerness to impress, my eagerness to learn, I started moving up the ranks in some of these industry events. And so as a result, I became the co-chair for the Postal Customer Council because I was in the mailing industry. And as a result, wound up being on stage. I opened up for Joe Namath one year at a huge Mailcom conference. It was great. I got to meet Joe Namath. I was like, yay. I outweighed him and out everything. I was expecting Joe Namath. And I was like, oh, hey, Joe. It's like this little tiny guy. Super, super nice guy. So I started doing that. I've done corporate industry events. I've done marketing events. I've done motivational speaker events. Yeah, I just actually I took a break from speaking back in 2016 because my wife and I were trying to have a kid, and unfortunately we couldn't. So then went through the IVF process. That didn't work, and so ultimately we got my son through adoption. We wound up adopting him from birth. It was an amazing experience, open adoption. But I decided, because I saw my friends trying to be parents, but also trying to hang on to their egoic validation of the things in the careers that they were in. And so I said, you know what, let me put that on hold. And that way there's no animosity from me or any guilt for me not being there as a part of his life as a baby and everything else, because I never wanted kids. I was not the dad person. I was not a kid person until I met my wife. And she went, okay, if we don't have kids, then that's a deal breaker. And I said, okay, when you're 30 and I'm 40, because she's 10 years younger than I am. And so 40 and 30 came and nothing happened. And so we went the adoption route. And so now it's been a while since I've been back on stages. And a lot of the personal development industry has changed. A lot of the personal development are full of frauds and scam artists. That's why I'm who I am. That's why I'm the no excuses coach. That's why I swear. That's why I look the way I do. That's why I don't wear a suit and tie. If you want to see me in a suit and tie, there was tons of videos on my YouTube channel where I did everything that I was supposed to do and say everything I was supposed to say, but I was incongruent to myself. And so I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this my own way. And that's one of the reasons why I've really just branched out, and I do my raw and unscripted podcast, do the unfiltered podcast. Now I'm just out there being who I am. And yeah, the desire to get out there and speak again and to impact people. There's no other real great feeling when you say something in such a way and somebody goes, wow, I never thought of it that way, Chris. And I'll always get pulled off stage and, oh my God, I got to tell you about this, or I got to tell you how you said this and change my life with that. So yeah, I love speaking. Love it.
Awesome. Yes. I love it. I love impacting people too. I take my lessons from the mat or the fighting or the competition days that I did, and the lessons that I took from those have always been, they resonate with a lot of people, and being real just kind of resonates. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm like, even my own podcast here, I'm not really scripted. We're going to have a conversation, and where it goes.
Exactly.
And, so where I think, and most of the time I tell everybody this all the time, I feel kind of selfish because I get to be with these awesome people for an hour and something kind of hits me and I'm like, oh, let's see what I'm going to learn from him today. And so I get to dabble into people's lives and learn lessons from them. And then ultimately it just kind of gets shared out to thousands of people that also get to listen to it. So it's kind of cool for sure. What's Serena saying? She's active here.
She's my sweetheart.
Yeah,
it's my sister from another Mr. Actually, she's the CEO of an organization called Help Heal Humanity. And so I've been on the board of here in the United States for the last 3 years. It's an amazing organization, Help Heal Humanity. I just only associate myself with people who are out there to change the world and make it a different place. And she is one of the most beautiful, heart-centered, driven people in the world. We built schools in Haiti, fed the homeless in Hamilton, Ontario, done so many different opportunities. So thank you, Serena, for being here. And she's got a lot on her plate. So for her to be here, thank you, sweetheart.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Isn't it awesome to have good people in your life?
Oh,
I'm telling
it's
you,
amazing.
Man, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it without my school, man. Has the people in my school have just been with me on such a roller coaster of stuff for sure. So I'm going to ask you about, 2019. So you were in the corporate world for a while. What made you make a decision to go ahead and say, "Hey, I'm going to transition out of this"? I can't tell you, Christopher, how many people I have that done exactly the same thing, that have transferred out of a corporate world. Now, was this a COVID thing, or is this before COVID? Just what you decided to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I found myself very successful and very comfortable. There's an amazing book out there called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And in there, he talks about, are you operating in your zone of greatness? Are you operating in your zone of excellence? Or are you operating in your zone of genius? And so I was like, leadership excellence. Like, I'm excellent at leadership. I'm excellent at operations. I can take dysfunctional teams, put them together. I can change operational deficiencies in England and Austria. I could do all those things. Excellent. I can do it in my sleep. My zone of genius is being able to shift people's perspective about their past, present, and their future. And because of my position at the job, being there for over 20 years, I had 6 weeks of vacation. I had a corner office. I had amazing, every other Friday, I had everything that was perfectly comfortable and safe. I made 6 figures. I was comfortably miserable. I would sit in traffic on my way home going, when am I going to follow my heart? When am I going to follow my true dream and operate in my zone of genius 100%? And simultaneously, the organization went from being privately owned, which was amazing. It was all about the customers. It was all about the employees. Take care of the customer. The customer takes care of the employee. Take care of the customer. Customer takes care of the company. And then, of course, you sell it to a couple of private equity groups. And then all of a sudden it becomes about the KPIs and blah, blah, blah. Where are we doing our metrics or blah, blah, blah. How much more money can we charge? How much more can we take away from the customer? And I became disgusted with it. And because I'm not a very shy person, I was very vocal in some of these meetings as a director saying, we've spent 45 minutes talking about this, but not a single person has asked what's in it for the customer. What's in it for the member, right? How are the staff going to deal with these questions when they say, we're going to charge $50 for an electronic card that literally is free? Like, how are we going to get away with this? Oh, Chris, you're being negative, blah, blah, blah. So the writing started to become on the wall that I was not going to fit into this new regime of where they wanted us to go back to working 80 hours a week, killing ourselves, missing our family. My son was 1 at the time. And so I just decided I will play your game to a point and I will do what I need to do at a point. And so ultimately there was a transition conversation that happened a couple of years prior saying, okay, if we ever get in this situation, here's the transition. Chris can give these responsibilities to these people. Long story short, something happened where I got a new boss and I trusted my new boss to tell her something about a situation that I had with the HR group years ago where they were trying to headhunt me to get me out of there. They wanted me to quit. And so I felt I need to tell her this because she's going to see this relationship I have with this HR person. And I don't want her to feel like I'm adversarial, being a dick or anything. So I trusted her to know this, but she went and ran to the other guy. And I know that's one of the reasons about 3 weeks later, I wound up getting an invitation to the HR department at 6:30 in the morning saying, Chris, your position's been eliminated. So it was kind of like this mutual thing. I knew I wasn't going to play their game. They probably felt that I was going to be a threat, which I was not a threat. And so that's when I left and was like, all right, now I could come out here to Riverside where there's tons of warehouses. And I went and put in my applications and thought, oh, okay, I'll be a vice president now. I'll do that for a couple of years. And then I put out a bunch of resumes and there was no bites. And I thought, duh, Chris, look for the sign. These doors are not opening. You need to be doing what you're doing. So I talked to my wife and I said, I want to do my coaching and my speaking and everything else. And that was like February 20th. And then we know March 20th, we went on lockdown and things changed. Had a great time during COVID, got to spend time with my son and continued to build my podcast and everything else. So I'm a true believer in everything happens for a reason. And for me, that was a chapter in my life. That was a section in my life. And there's still aspects of my life that I still incorporate in consulting and corporate work and operations and leadership. But for me, it was about regret. I did not want to regret. I did not want to play it safe for the rest of my life, hoping, wishing, and praying that someday I was going to be discovered. Sometimes you got to jump. And there's a great video out there by Steve Harvey. It's called Jump. He's in a parking garage. There's 2 of them. One he's doing the Family Feud, but he's in a parking garage. It's 1 minute and 35 seconds, I think, maybe 1 minute and 55 seconds. All it's said and done. And he talks about this, Mark. He's like, oh man, they're doing this and they're doing that. And they're having their own business and they're flying and they're going to the south of France. Well, when am I going to do that? Well, what they did is they jumped and their parachute didn't open when they jumped. Their backs got scraped up. They got scared, but eventually their parachute opened. Like for me, I was scared every step of the way, every part of my life, but I just kept taking that imperfect action. And so I just decided you got to run and jump. And the parachute will open, and it does.
Yeah, that's awesome. I find that so much. I don't know if you know Tina that just says hi to both of us. I don't know if you've met her before.
Yeah. What's up, Tina? Thank you for being here.
She's another one that left the corporate world to go after what she wants. It's I've seen it over and over and over again. I say this all the time about corporate world, right? They pay you just enough not to quit, and you do just enough work not to get fired. Is the corporate life. That's the experience that I see with it for sure.
I can't imagine anymore right now. It's got to be so insane. Again, with the multi-generations and what people have experienced emotionally and mentally and financially with COVID and whatnot, it's hard. I can imagine leadership is tough right now. I've got some friends that are still in there and they are struggling.
So let's just break that down, because let's tell the audience this, okay? Because leaving a six-figure, right? And then, COVID hits and it gave you the opportunity. When you made the decision, let's look at one aspect on, okay, how am I going to grow this? So how did you start the process? Who'd you go market to say, hey, I'm a coach now, or this is what I'm going to do, or I'm trying to speak? Did you do it organically? How did you go about going to grow what it is you're going to be next?
It was, that's a great question, Mark. Yeah, literally, it was a continuation based on word of mouth. I mean, a lot of my coaching clients come from word of mouth. I'll work with a coaching client for 6 months to a year, depending. Sometimes the first 6 months is just unwiring and refiguring out, old belief patterns. And then the second 6 months is really about attacking new goals. But a lot of it's from word of mouth. People just sit there and find out from my coaching clients, like, what are you doing? You're actually happy. You're actually executing on things. You're actually eliminating things and tolerations in your life that you've been letting happen and build up for so many years. Even people within own people's families, they're like, wait a minute, you used to put up with all this bullshit and now you don't do this anymore. Who are you working with? And so a lot of it has always continued to be word of mouth. That's where a lot of get up my coaching clients. But it was funny, you attract likes. So I started marketing more towards people on LinkedIn who were in my situation. They were in their 40s and their 50s and their 60s, and they were doing good and they were good enough. And I would just simply ask them, did you come here to be good enough, or did you come here to rock and roll and not have any regrets? There's a book behind me. It's called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. It is bar none one of the most impactful books. Have you heard of it before?
Yes.
So, so the hospice, for those of you guys who don't know, a hospice nurse sat down with all these people who are dying. That's their job, is to help them transition when they pass away. And she took a list and said, okay, what are the 5 regrets of the people that I'm sitting here watching pass away? And the top regret is that people thought they lived the life they thought they were supposed to live instead of living the life they wanted to live. And so by using that and engaging with people, because I'm all about relationships, I'm not about clicks and marketing techniques and sales pitches. I just connect with people and let them know what I do. I check on them every once in a while, see how they're doing. And every once in a while they go, hey, you know what? I'm ready to work with you. And so for me, I was finding that there was these people that were going, man, I'm doing just good enough. I'm kind of scared. I'm like, okay, what kind of example are you setting for your kids? Do you want your kids just to play it safe for the rest of their life? Or do you want them to go out there and jump and get their back scraped up and figure out what resiliency is, figure out what courage is, figure out what confidence is, figure out when your back's against the wall, you need to figure something new out, as opposed to going, oh yeah, I'll do it. And so I believe it was a mutual understanding between myself and the organization to say that was my time. That was my time. And so when I look back on that, there are certain aspects of my identity that I was not prepared to deal with, because I was a director of operations. I had $17 million worth of budgets. I had international responsibilities. And then one day I was not needed. And the guy who took over my position was a dear friend of mine. And I kept asking him every day. I'm like, dude, I know I had all these things going on. I said, if you need any help, I'm glad to help. Nobody needed me, Mark. And so that process of me sitting there having to re-identify with who I was based on what I was doing, that was a bit of a challenge for a few months. But then through that, it's like, okay, if I continue in looking at that door that's closed, if I continue on looking at who that person was is the person who got me here, that same person isn't going to get me to where I need to go next. And that's what I teach people. It's like, you need to change your perspective about shit. Let that door go. Let that section of your life go, and start doing what it is that you can do today so that you don't have any regrets tomorrow.
Yes, that's so I love to hear how that process is, because the reason I asked the question is I think a lot of people are scared. They They don't do anything because of fear.
Yeah.
They don't want to take the risk, right? And then that's where the regret comes. They're like, if I would have just done that. Oh, if I would have just done that. Even myself, I was in that same token. I don't think, I think as long as an 18-year-old, I always wanted to be a real estate investor. I tried all kinds of stuff, but I never really had a coach that would push me over the edge or teach me what can I really do this. And then now, so today, right, I own 2 properties now. I just closed on one in Georgia, these Airbnbs, and I just bought it. I bought this 5-acre property with these for Airbnb that was built for Airbnb. I have another little apartment by the college that we rent that's out in Georgia. And I have a goal now to have 5 more before the end of next year, right? So I'm starting to live what I wanted to do at 61 years old or 60. How am I now?
No, the same
shit, I'm 62. I'm not even 61. I'm going backwards. Ever since I hit 60, I decided I'm going to go backwards in life. So
yeah, I do that sometimes too. There's my buddy Walt. What's up, Walt?
So so this is what I decided. So the reason I asked the question of you is because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I can't just walk away. I can't just walk away. But the same with my studio. I didn't just open up a school. I started it as a ministry at a church. That's what I started as. I was there for 2 years. And then I went ahead and you have Hooked on Humanity here.
My girl Nellie. She's an amazing soul too. Thank you guys all for being here.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You
got good people behind you. I can just already tell by comments. It's always weird how I can tell the impact people have by comments a lot of times on when I'm interviewing them.
I'm blessed.
So that's great. So I was telling you that when I opened up my school, I decided I was growing so big up there. I said, this is what I've always wanted to do. I need to do it.
Yep.
And so that's what I did. I was just a machinist, man. That's why my grandpa did it and my dad did it. And I liked it. Of course, today I would have better appreciation because I would make some awesome gun parts if I was back in the machine shop like I used to be. I'd be making myself my own ARs. I just wasn't in that mindset back then. But when I was doing all my the machining, I remember being in front of a machine. I used to have these big calendars before I was a black belt, and I would say, no time to slack, 3 months to black, and all this, and getting ready in this black belt thing. And then I got laid off from that job. And then I ended up being a pool man. I clean pools. And I love that job, by the way. Best job in the world for summertime. Sucks in the winter.
Yeah.
So, I was out cleaning pools. And I would get up at 6 a.m. and I'd clean all the pools. And I'd go back to the studio, teach class until 8 o'clock. And that's how I started opening up my school. Now, how I got my school was, this is one story I'll let everybody know that's listening about. When you want to do something in your life, you are going to come up against walls that you think you just cannot get past. And this happened to me. I didn't have credit. I had a little bit of savings, but I had people that would follow me, enough that would pay rent. Correct? So I knew this. And I went after a place that's been empty for 12 years. And this guy just would not give me the time of day. Not the time of day. I said, let me talk to the owner myself. And he said, no. And one of my students just said, run a property profile on it, find out who the owner is. Go find him yourself.
Right.
And I said, okay, how did I do that? And there's not a lot of internet back then, but he showed me how to do it. And I found out that he was a dentist. So I made an appointment to have my teeth cleaned. And I sat in a chair. I said, I'm not here to have my teeth cleaned, man. I said, I want to open up a martial arts school. And he was just like, I can't believe that you went through all this for this. I said, your people, number one, they don't believe in me. Okay, because they wouldn't let me talk to you. And I said, I had money to open, and he goes, I'm going to give you a 1-year lease. And he goes, if you make it from there, I don't want to put you in a 5-year lease where it's going to lock you down in case something happens. I'm going to give you a 1 year, and then I will give you as many years as you want after that. And I was with that guy for 9 years until I had to open up, until I had to move to a bigger place. And that's how and I tell everybody, you're going to come up against walls. I'm a firm believer. You go around the wall or go through the wall. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
How are you going to do it? And if I didn't do that, I would never pursued it. And just coming from, I took a GED just like you did. Now I didn't do college like you did. I couldn't stand college.
Yeah.
I just didn't have the personality for it. And so, but all my children have graduated college, because I've told them, I said, there's one thing I said, I was a fool not understanding how to use it. Go to college and use it for what you need, what you want in life.
Yes.
You don't need this basket weaving and all this or whatever you do, but you need to learn how to get up in front of a group of people and speak. You need to learn how to formulate a letter so you sound intelligent when you talk to others.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to complete something, because when you complete something in 4 years and you get your bachelor's degree, guess what? That's like getting a black belt, because it takes 4 or 5 years to get a black belt. Yeah. That means somebody did something disciplined enough in order to graduate, or disciplined enough in order to graduate for a black belt. I said, that is the beauty of what college is. You can't quit, and you want to quit a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so it was definitely not easy. It was a lot. I got divorced during that. The first divorce, I've only had one.
Yes. You only had one?
Yeah.
Yes, me too. I hadn't done it again just yet. So it's never late. Just switched my career aligned with my purpose at 44. The best thing I've ever done. Found what happens I didn't even know I missed. That's your buddy Walter.
Yeah.
Fico, he's a good guy. This guy
needs to be on your show as well. He's a great guy. He wrote a book, Monsters in My House. I mean, incredible.
Okay, I'm going to reach out. Walter, if it's cool with you, I'm going to reach out to you after this. Fico, I don't know if you've met Fico before. Are you in CLA? Is that how we met each other? Are you in the CLA, or how did we meet? How did we find each other?
You and I?
Yes.
I'd have to go back and look at my notes. I've met so many people in the last couple of weeks and the last couple of months just promoting the book. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure. But I don't know.
I'm not sure what groups you're in or how we found each other, but Fico here, he's a good guy. This guy is a lieutenant colonel in the Army.
Wow, I just actually interviewed one on my Raw and Scripted show a couple of weeks ago. Green Beret Lieutenant Colonel.
Yes, yeah, this is him too. Fico's a good dude, and
nice.
You have Hooked on Humanity. I'm sure this is another one of you guys got such good followers, man. Good comments.
And one of the things I can really offer people is the thing that was illuminating for me when I think about regrets and I think about that sense of leverage that we need to have in our life. For me, I was at a funeral back in 2008 and my life was great on paper. I was probably drinking a little bit too much, but everything on paper was fine. And I sat there and I was watching all of my coworkers up there eulogizing this lady who I worked with, who I didn't really know that well, but I went there out of respect to pay my respects and everything. And everybody was getting up there. My buddy Dave Riley gets up there and starts blubbering about what a beautiful person she is and how much difference she made in his life. And honestly, Mark, I sat there, I thought, okay, if I died tomorrow, who would show up and what would they say? And I figured 10 or 15 people would show up with cases of Miller Genuine Draft and bottles of Jack Daniels and Motley Crue and Bon Jovi records. And they would talk about all the stupid shit Chris did. Oh my God. Remember that time he did that? Remember the time he passed out? Remember the time he drove a sand rail from Competition Hill without his fucking lights on? Remember that time he did this? Remember that time he did this? Remember that time he thought this? Oh yeah. He was a homeless 7th grade dropout who came back and changed the world. And I thought, I don't want the postscript on my life to be, he was a party animal, girl chasing, rock star dude. And then he changed the world. And so I really thought about it and it bugged me. And as I was driving home, I'm like, what can I do with this? What can I do with this? And I, not knowing anything about anything in that situation, I decided, I went home and I wrote my eulogy by hand. And so as I was writing it out, I wrote it out, went to the kitchen, got a glass of water, came back, and literally was going to push it to the side of my desk because I'm always about go, do the next thing, do the next thing, do the next thing. And I thought, all right, I'm like, fucking go put this over here. I'm like, wait, let me just pick it up and read it. So I start reading it. And I'm like, well, if I was at a eulogy or a church service, they would read it out loud. And so I said, me. And so we're gathered here today to celebrate the life of Christopher Rausch and blah, 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 blah. Mark, I get halfway down. I start crying. Because I get to a point where it says, Christopher Rausch will have fought for what's right and what's fair. He will have risked for what's that mattered. And he will have left the earth a better place for who he was and what he did. And in that moment, I had tears right now. I'm like, if I can live that life, when I live that life, as I choose to live that life every single day, I can't have any regrets, because if that's what the picture of what it is that I'm supposed to be doing here, if I make sure that that's the focus and the intention of every single day of my life, then that's a beautiful life. And so many people don't have that vision. So many people hope, wish, and pray that someday something's going to change or someone's going to change. The thing that has to change is what's going on between right here. We don't get guaranteed the next 10 minutes. I could literally slip down my stairs, fucking crack my head open. I could have a heart attack. I was in the emergency room 3 weeks ago. That's another story. We just don't know. Every single day, if this is the last conversation that I ever have, can my son watch this and go, fuck, dad was living on his point? And so that's the clear vision that we need. And in order to have that vision, we need to have the right people supporting us who don't say, oh, it's stupid to quit your job and go for your dreams. You should play it safe. You used to be homeless. You make 6 figures. You should do this. You need people saying, yeah, go do it, dude. Have a backup plan, think a little bit smart about it, but go do it. Why? I don't want to sit there and think about all the different decisions and things I could have done with my life and all the people who poo-pooed my stuff who are going to be dead before me, perhaps. I'm not going to think, I don't want those regrets. I want to look back on my life and go, man, that was scary, but it was fun. Man, that was scary. That didn't work out. But guess what? This worked out. Maybe that then, blah, blah, blah. Did I make an impact in the world? Did I live? Am I going to check in with God? And is he going to be like, yeah, you did a fucking great job. Cool. And that's where I look at it.
Right. Awesome perspective. Awesome perspective. I did, that's the reason I started my podcast, even through when the COVID in 2019 is kind of when I started, right? Also. And I'm like, you know what? This is going to be for my great grandkids who's going to be able to see me and know hey, this is what my dad stand for. This is what your grandpa stood for. Yeah. They're going to be able to come back on this and say, and I did that. I lived life on the edge. Was it easy? Was it easy owning a martial arts school? No. Because I'm telling you, first of all, I don't have the typical body of a martial artist, right? I've always been a bigger athlete, and I've been the Hulk smash, you know what I mean? And, so I just did all this. And it took me a long time to win tournaments because I get kicked out of them for excessive contact, all kinds of shit, and trying to get myself formed to be a better human. I didn't really do martial arts and learn how to learn how to fight. I was just a naturally tough guy being bullied in school all the time. It just kind of made me that way. Yeah. And I really took martial arts because I thought, you know what, I'm going to be able to kick the shit out of you even more now. That's what I thought until it really kind of formed my life. Right. And so, I think that anybody, and you're right. You said something in there too. You said you got to be smart about it, which I was, right? I was still cleaning pools and doing it, but I tell everybody, I said the day the pool place kind of sold his business and I didn't have the cushion anymore. Mm-hmm. When it became a must, then it became a success. Yes. And then it wasn't a success out of the way. I had to go find a coach because I was drowning because I could do good martial arts, but I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know how to do it at all. And I found a coach. I found a coach just by the grace of God who I've interviewed today. And one thing he's always told me, he goes, you want to know, he never even charged me a dime, this guy. He changed my life and never charged me nothing. He said, you get here on the airplane, I will put you up and I'm going to teach you how to make money in the martial arts. And I remember being in my head, everybody just drilling me all the time. You're just going to do karate? That's not a job. That's not a job. And I used to say to myself, man, I'm telling you, I'm going to have 100 black belts one day, and you guys are going to come to me for advice on how to run a martial arts school. I remember saying it. And today, right? Today I have 700 black belts, and I've got 8-9 schools that are underneath me that are in an organization. And I've done consulting now for martial artist school owners on how to make money for years now. But I remember me saying that. I remember everybody knocking in. Anybody, listen, coach, you tell me the same thing, right, Christopher? Anybody that's listening, nobody's going to listen to you right out of the gate. Mm-hmm. You have to have something behind you, right? They're all watching. I've got 4,000 friends, and I've got a very minute, which tells me that I've got some that are in my corner pushing me up, and I've got a lot watching me to fail. Mm-hmm. And every day it's like a big boom every time I make it. You know what I mean? I just, I said, keep on watching, because while you're watching, I'm doing. While you watch, I do. True. And so, I've loved that, what you said there as far as that goes, and how to be smart about it and how to chase it. So, what is so when you're out looking, what's your best, if you're looking for people to come to you as a coach, who do you kind of take on? Who do you try and, merge yourself with, and how do they go about doing that?
That's a great question. I love that. I'm looking for people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. They're literally at that point where, like, I'm tired of doing the same shit over and over again, expecting different results. I'm ready to start letting go of some of these past beliefs that I believe that I can't, or that I'm not worthy. And I'm ready to work with people who are ready to do the action and to make the tough decisions, because I believe that, you either hit bottom or you hit the bottom. And my whole goal is to try to prevent people from hitting the bottom and being able to have that proactivity to say, listen, I'm worth making the investment in myself to have a coach. it blows my mind. All the people in this personal development space, which just don't even fucking get me started, who sit there and I'm a coach and I'm a this. I have 2 coaches. I have 3 mentors that I can call on at any particular time that I talk to every single week. I got my buddy Walt. I've got so many people in my corner that I can go to. What can I do to make my podcast better? So I'm looking for people who are sitting there sick and tired of being sick and tired of their want to start developing an action plan to get out of their situation so that they don't have those regrets. Because ultimately what I do is I take those people and I turn them into advocates to go help other people be inspired. And so if we can start inspiring people to take personal accountability, personal responsibility, instead of blaming the government, instead of blaming the politicians, instead of blaming the laws and all, and take responsibility for ourselves, the world will be a better place. And honestly, to tell you, Mark, my whole mission in life is to make this world a better place for all, right? For us to get away from the self-hatred and the self-loathing and the name calling for ourselves, and being able to speak to ourselves in a more loving fashion. And then with that, go be able to be that person for somebody else. Go be that ray of light for some kid that's out there that's struggling. Go out there and be a ray of light for somebody that's in your organization that you know is struggling. Use your experiences that I can teach you to go out there and make this world a better place, so that our kids and our kids' kids could grow up and go, wow, man, those people back in the 2024s, whatever you want to call it, they really got their shit together and started making this world a better place, and stop blaming each other and stop hating each other and stop listening to the news media about all the divisiveness. I'm looking for those people who are sick and tired. Basically, they're comfortably miserable. And that seems to be the whole army of people that I keep attracting, because they're like, Chris, I just can't do it anymore. I'm like, well, then stop doing it and start doing something different.
That's powerful there, Christopher, that what you talk about. And I think it's 100% agree that I would say that most of us are on the same page. We're divided because of media. We're divided because of they want to keep us confused. They want to keep people fat and out of shape. They want to keep us not focused on goals, focused on them. They want to keep us divided in hatred.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. I don't recall this. I told my own children, I said, I do not recall this much hate back in my day, back before, really social media, I guess. I told them, I says, man, we would roll up in my Datsun, little orange Datsun, and open up the car windows and shoot baskets in the park. Right. This was our time. We didn't really have, we had, the big thing was a pager back then. And then, then we can call you back if we felt like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that people, I don't think people really realize how close and what, of course, everybody wants to have success and they want to have, but they just can't get past their own insecurities. I see it all the time in the martial arts world, all the time. And a lot of times people quit right before they win. It drives me absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm. Same thing.
You're getting close, man. You're getting close. And I tell everybody, you're going to miss the journey more than you're going to miss the victory. I'm telling you for a fact. The journey of in mine, I've been doing martial arts for so long, right? 40 years now. And I got a really good grasp on my main arts. And then jiu-jitsu has come in the last 10 years. I mean, it's like unboxing. I tell the story that when I had blood clots here a few years ago, and I was 100 pounds heavier than what I am now. And I was still, getting after it. But then I'm in the hospital and I'm thinking, man, I'm about to die here. What the flip, man?
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to change something. And then I made a major shift. But in the same token, being on blood thinners, I couldn't get in the ring. I couldn't take any shots anymore because I'm on blood thinners. And so I'm losing my warrior spirit because my calling is, and then jiu-jitsu came around and I'm like, wow, I can still have that warrior feeling. And it's just opened up a whole new puzzle, right? And I'm right now in the process of putting puzzles here and puzzles there as I get to unbox this stuff. And I tell everybody, I don't want to hear about it. I said, I'm 62 and I'm still out there. There's something to be said about a guy that's got one fake knee and a bunch of arthritis in the other that gets up and says, you know what? I'm going to go blow my knees out a little bit more today. Let's go. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things. I tell everybody.
My band say unstoppable. That's why.
Yeah,
you're unstoppable. It's like no excuses. Keep going. No excuses. You got to believe. That's the cornerstone of whatever it is. It's just got to go out there and do it. like do it and get through it. It's and realize that you're stronger than you actually think, and to get rid of those excuses. I mean, literally, that's what my book is all about. It's about that resiliency of being able to take that imperfect action every single day, and knowing that part of it is going to suck, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to be ugly, and you're going to cry, and you're going to feel like but all through that part, when you look back on it, I look at it this way, and I know you do too. Like when I look back on my life, did I learn the most when it was easy and comfortable? No. I've had so many times where I just kick back. I've got my dream car downstairs. I've got a 69 Charger. I've got all sorts of beautiful things. I didn't learn shit when things were easy. When things were tough, I learned a lot. And so I look back with fondness and appreciation for all the tough things that I've been through. The time where I wanted to end my life in 2016, where I actually had to put the tattoo right here. It says, "What doesn't kill me only makes me stronger." I literally had to tattoo it on my forearm to sit there and say, "Chris, you're going to get through this too." And to ultimately realize that whatever challenges face me in the future, I'm going to learn and I'm going to grow from them. So I don't sit there and try to make my life easy, and I don't try to make my life perfect. Like, oh, I don't want to have any more problems. We all have problems and situations. It's what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And then how can I help somebody else do that same thing?
Powerful, right? I tell my students often, if you can tell this phrase in your head sometimes, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Okay. And it is so true that this too shall pass. And if you can put that in your head, that, you know, and I also tell them, when you want to quit, when those times that you want to quit and you're writing down, just don't quit today. Think about that tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quit today.
I love that.
Think about that tomorrow. And then all of a sudden, you know, your mind kind of shifts after a good night's sleep. And we have all these goals in the morning. And then of course, life, you know, likes to throw the boom, boom, right? They like to throw the right, left hooks at you. And you're either dodging or you're taking a few and you're countering. It's just, it's just what it is. It's always a fight. It's always a fight, man.
Yeah.
You know,
But
1 minute, right? One minute, one more round. I tell them all the time, you got to take that 1 second to the 1 minute, to the one round, to the 10 rounds, and just keep on going. You can't stop what you're doing. So I want to give you the last couple seconds here on this podcast. It's been good. I mean, this hour went by just quickly. We've already passed the hour, believe it or not. I want you to go ahead and give us a good, something to end this good podcast with, something where, and make sure at the end on how to reach you when, you know, people want to. Guys, if you're out there looking for a coach that has no nonsense, let me just be real with everybody out here. That's my audience, right? Everybody that's my audience, they kind of know me. They know me that I wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't really, I don't deal with too much bullshit. And I'll tell you exactly how I feel. And I want to be real because I want people to be real with me. And if you're looking for that, this is obviously a coach that you might want to dabble into and get to meet. So, Christopher, go ahead and leave us with something and for everybody, and let people know on how to reach you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. Mark, it's been a tremendous opportunity, and we'll definitely have you on the Raw and Unscripted podcast as well. I think I'm just going to go back to the advice that was given to me at 17 years old by my girlfriend's dad, who said, "Christopher, you're only limited by the parameters of your own mind. You're only limited by the parameters of your own mind. So you think that something is impossible. If you think it's not attainable, if it's for everybody else, and you continue to talk to yourself in that way, guess what, ladies and gentlemen, the cycle of insanity will continue. But if you sit there and afford yourself the opportunity of what if I did something just a little bit different today that I did yesterday? What if I kept doing that over and over again for the next 365 days, for the next 30 days, for the next 20 days, for the next however many days? Would I be a little bit different at the end of that? Yes. How much different could I be? Depends on how much effort and action that I can put into that. It first starts off with the 5 things: hydration, nutrition, sleep, exercise, and vitamin D. It blows my mind. I've given away a bunch of coaching sessions during COVID, just my way of giving back. And I ask people, how much water do you drink every day? 90% of the people out of 200 conversations, like, oh, I don't drink enough water. I don't drink water. I drink tea. I drink coffee. I drink soda. I'm like, your body's comprised of 70 to 80% water. So if you're not hydrating yourself, guess what? You are making shitty decisions because you feel like crap. And what happens when we feel like crap? We go to our short-term gratifications to ignore our life. And we hope, wish, and pray that someday something's going to change. Usually something changes when you wind up in an emergency room and they slap a bunch of medication at you and say you haven't been taking care of yourself. And then all of a sudden you start taking care of yourself. Then all of a sudden you start feeling a little bit better. Then all of a sudden you start realizing, what is it that I've been tolerating? So here's something you guys can do. Take out a piece of paper. I'm a big fan of writing shit down. Write it down. What are you tolerating from yourself? What are you tolerating from others? What are you tolerating from inanimate objects? and sit there and make a choice and a decision that you're going to eliminate a third of those tolerations in the next 30 days, plus your hydration, nutrition, sleep, exercise, and vitamin D. If you're not getting outside and getting 10 minutes of sun every day, guess what? That can cause depression. I found that out for myself when it rained here in Southern California for 10 days. I was like, God, I feel like I'm sad and cry. I want to like watch The Notebook. And I found out I haven't seen the sun in 10 days. I started taking a vitamin D supplement. Wow, I started feeling better. I started taking a magnesium supplement, started feeling better, started taking extra potassium, started feeling better. Take care of yourself, take care of your health, take care of the way you speak to yourself, and take care of the people that are in your life, the 5 people that are around the most, your team, the people that you trust, that empower you, that hold you accountable, and that mentor you. Make sure you have a team of people in your life that are promoting the fact that you should be out there taking a risk for your life and getting a coach and getting around the right people. There's so much more, but I think that's enough. But thank you for being here. Of course, please go check out itsjustyoundmekid.com. Itsjustyoundmekid.com. There's a bunch of stuff I'm giving away as part of the pre-sale thing. You put your email and your name in there. Once it comes out on sale day, you're going to get an email saying, please go buy the book. And then you'll be entered for a bunch of stuff. This is my story. This is my entire life story of triumph and resiliency and belief and empowerment and taking imperfect action and struggling and going through divorces and going through suicide attempts and going through drugs and alcohol and going through all these different things to be the man that I am so proud of being today and getting to be a dad to my amazing 6-year-old. Mark, once again, thank you for having me on here. I appreciate it, brother. I look forward to more conversations with you. Definitely.
That is so good today, Christopher. Definitely kindred spirits for sure. We draw from the same mindset, that's for sure. And for those that are listening, I'll have all his stuff. We'll have this out in audio, you guys, so you guys can listen to it while you drive, or maybe you want to, you only caught a few minutes of it and you want to hear the rest of it. It'll be out on audio. Of course, it's out on YouTube at Beyond the Mat podcast on YouTube, and my website is markcox.com. It'll be on the audio there. That's the website for the podcast itself. So we'll be able to catch that. I'll have it out later tonight. This is what I usually do Monday nights after I wind down from teaching. I'll go and edit the podcasting and make sure it's up and ready to go. I'll have that out to you as soon as we have it. And let's just end. I want to tell everybody this, man. All those that are trying to give up, and want to quit, we don't quit. We don't quit when we're tired. We quit when we're done. And so you guys make sure you kind of live by that. And I really appreciate you, Christopher. This was a awesome day today. Now you got me all pumped up for the rest of the day. I'm like,
let's go.
Let's go. And so my lifting today should be pretty good. So if you would, Christopher, we have a little outro that we're going to do. If you would just stick online, and I'll get you right after this is done. Okay.
No worries. And thank you to all my fans and all my friends and my peeps that showed up here today. Thank you guys. I love you to pieces. We call ourselves the Misfits for Life. And I love each and every one of you. I see Samuel's in the house. Fico, I learned to, I'll look forward to connecting with you. Nelly, thank you for being here. Serena, all you guys, Walt, you guys are all beautiful, beautiful people in my life. And I wouldn't be able to do this without you. So I love you guys.
Yes, that's awesome.
You've been listening to Real Talk with Mark Cox. Real life, real topics, real conversation. We're passionate about motivation, fitness, self-defense, weight loss, and coming at it from a real angle. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. And we hope you had fun. We know we did. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit us up on Instagram and Facebook at MarkCox100. Make sure to subscribe and review. And tell a friend or two about the show. For more, hit up the website at markcox.com. Till next time, keep it real.